Rain drummed against the cafe windows as Min-seo clutched her phone, checking the profile picture again. Her best friend had arranged this blind date after months of convincing. At 28, drowning in student debt and working double shifts at a convenience store, she'd finally agreed. The cafe door opened. A man in a janitor's uniform stepped inside, shaking water from his hair. Their eyes met. Min-seo's heart sank. Surely this couldn't be him. But he approached her table with quiet confidence, pulling out a chair without asking. "You're Min-seo?" His voice was deeper than expected, calm and measured. She nodded slowly, mind racing. The profile had mentioned self-employed. Perhaps janitorial work counted. She'd promised herself not to judge by appearances. Her own circumstances were hardly glamorous. "I'm Ji-hoon," he said, ordering coffee without glancing at the menu. His hands were clean despite the uniform, nails trimmed. There was something unusual about him, the way he carried himself perhaps, or the expensive watch barely visible beneath his sleeve. They talked for 2 hours. He asked about her dreams, listened intently when she mentioned wanting to finish her degree. He spoke little about himself, deflecting questions with gentle humor. When the bill came, he paid without hesitation, leaving a generous tip. "Can I see you again?" he asked outside, rain still falling. Min-seo surprised herself by saying yes. There was something magnetic about this quiet janitor, something that made her pulse quicken despite everything logic told her. As he walked away, she noticed a sleek black car waiting at the corner. He climbed into the back seat. The vehicle disappeared into traffic, leaving Min-seo standing in the rain, wondering what she'd just agreed to. Monday morning arrived with its usual chaos. Min-seo rushed through her convenience store shift, then headed to her afternoon cleaning job at Han-seong Corporation's headquarters. The building stretched 50 stories into Seoul's skyline, all glass and steel ambition. She'd worked there 3 months, invisible among the army of cleaning staff. The pay was decent, the work mindless. She could think about her interrupted education while scrubbing executive bathrooms. The 30th floor was restricted access. Min-seo's supervisor handed her a special keycard with unusual instructions. Executive suite needs deep cleaning. They're in emergency meetings all day. Don't touch the desk papers. The suite was breathtaking, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River, furniture that cost more than her annual salary. Min-seo began methodically, losing herself in the rhythm of work. She was dusting the bookshelf when the door opened. A group of men in expensive suits entered, deep in heated discussion. She pressed herself against the wall, trying to become invisible as her training demanded. "The acquisition needs finalizing by Friday," one man insisted. "The board won't wait longer." Then she heard it, that voice, deep, calm, measured. "We proceed carefully or not at all. I won't sacrifice worker benefits for speed." Min-seo's head snapped up. Ji-hoon stood at the center of the group, no longer in a janitor's uniform, but an impeccably tailored charcoal suit. The other executives deferred to him, their body language screaming subordination. Their eyes met across the room. Recognition flashed in his gaze, followed by something she couldn't name. Not embarrassment exactly, perhaps resignation. "Everyone out," he said quietly. The executives filed away without question. The door clicked shut, leaving them alone in the vast office. Min-seo's voice emerged barely above whisper. "Who are you?" Ji-hoon loosened his tie, exhaustion evident in the gesture. He moved to the windows, silhouette dark against the bright cityscape. Min-seo remained frozen, dust cloth still clutched in her trembling hands. "My full name is Kang Ji-hoon," he began, voice careful. "I'm CEO of Han-seong Corporation. My grandfather founded it 50 years ago." The words landed like physical blows. Min-seo's mind spun, recalculating everything. The quiet janitor had been a lie. The genuine conversation, the connection she'd felt, had any of it been real? Why? The question escaped before she could stop it. Why pretend to be someone else? Ji-hoon turned, and she saw something raw in his expression. I wasn't pretending, not entirely. He moved closer, stopping a respectful distance away. That uniform? I wear it once a week. I clean this building's lower floors every Saturday night. Have done for 2 years. That's insane. Perhaps. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. My grandfather required it, said I needed to understand every level of this company from boardroom to broom closet. He made the same requirement of my father. Min-seo processed this, brain struggling against the cognitive dissonance. And Saturday, our date? You let me think, I know. Guilt shadowed his features. When you weren't horrified by the uniform, when you talked to me like a person rather than a position, I wanted one honest conversation. Just one, where someone saw me instead of my portfolio. Anger and understanding warred within her. She'd felt invisible her entire life, overlooked, underestimated. Somehow he'd felt the same, despite having everything. I should go, she managed, gathering her cleaning supplies with shaking hands. Min-seo, wait. But she was already gone, leaving him alone in his glass tower. Min-seo avoided the executive floors for the next week, trading shifts with co-workers and inventing excuses. Her supervisor noticed but said nothing, perhaps sensing the tension that had nothing to do with work quality. Her phone buzzed constantly. Ji-hoon's messages filled her screen, apologies, explanations, requests to meet. She deleted them unread, then hated herself for the small part that wanted to respond. Friday evening brought unexpected visitors. Min-seo answered her tiny apartment door to find an elegant woman in her 50s, designer handbag, radiating wealth. 2 men in dark suits flanked her. Miss Park, Min-seo? The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. I'm Madam Kang, Ji-hoon's mother. May I come in? Refusing seemed impossible. Min-seo stepped aside, acutely aware of her apartment's shabby furniture and peeling wallpaper. Madam Kang settled onto the threadbare couch, as if it were a throne. My son has been distracted lately. Madam Kang's tone was pleasant, words carefully chosen. I understand you've met. Several times. It was a misunderstanding. Indeed. Madam Kang opened her handbag, withdrawing an envelope. I'm here to ensure there are no further misunderstandings. This contains enough to settle your debts and fund your education. In exchange, you'll cease contact with my son. The envelope landed on the coffee table between them. Min-seo stared at it, mind numb. This was how the wealthy operated. Problems solved with money, people treated as transactions. I haven't contacted him, Min-seo said quietly. Not once since I discovered the truth. Good. Madam Kang stood, business concluded. Keep it that way. My son will marry appropriately when the time comes. Someone of suitable background and breeding. I'm sure you understand. After they left, Min-seo sat motionless for an hour. The envelope remained untouched on the table, its presence both insulting and tempting. Her student loans weighed heavily, an anchor around her future. She burned it in the sink. Monday brought a company-wide announcement. Hansung Corporation was launching a new scholarship program for employees and their families. Applications would be reviewed by the CEO personally. Min-seo's co-workers buzzed with excitement. She said nothing, recognizing the gesture for what it was. Ji-hoon's indirect apology, his way of helping without the strings his mother had attached. Pride warred with practicality. She needed this. But accepting felt like surrender. The decision was postponed by crisis. Min-seo's younger brother called in tears. Their father, already struggling with medical bills from a previous stroke, had collapsed. The hospital required immediate payment for treatment. Min-seo stared at her bank account, Mathematics cruel and absolute. Even selling everything wouldn't cover it. The scholarship application deadline was weeks away. She was crying in the employee restroom when someone entered. Through the mirror, she saw Yoon Hye-jin, one of the executive assistants, approach with surprising gentleness. "I know that look," Hye-jin said softly. "Family emergency?" Something in her kindness broke Min-seo's remaining composure. The story spilled out. Her father, the bills, the impossible choice between pride and survival. Hye-jin listened without judgment. "The CEO has a discretionary fund for employee emergencies. Very few people know about it. I can submit a request, no questions asked." "I can't." "You can." Hye-jin's tone was firm. "This isn't charity. It's what the fund exists for. Besides, you didn't hear this from me." That evening, Min-seo's bank account showed an anonymous transfer covering the hospital bills exactly. No message accompanied it, no strings attached. She knew who was responsible, and she knew she couldn't keep avoiding him forever. The autumn charity gala was mandatory for all Hanseong Corporation employees, even cleaning staff. Min-seo borrowed a simple black dress, feeling hopelessly out of place among the glittering crowd. The hotel ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, Seoul's elite networking in designer clothes. Min-seo kept to the shadows, counting minutes until she could leave. Ji-hoon's speech was brief and eloquent, discussing corporate responsibility and worker welfare. His eyes scanned the crowd as he spoke, and Min-seo wondered if he was searching for someone specific. She tried to slip out during dinner service, but collided with a waiter carrying champagne. Glass shattered, expensive fabric stained, and suddenly everyone was staring. "I'm so sorry," Min-seo stammered, grabbing napkins while the waiter assured her it was his fault. Heat flooded her cheeks. Then Ji-hoon was there, jacket already removed and wrapped around her champagne-soaked shoulders. "It's fine, everyone, please continue." His presence dispersed the onlookers. Min-seo stood frozen as he guided her toward a side exit, his hand barely touching her elbow. They ended up in an empty service corridor. Min-seo clutched his jacket, which smelled of expensive cologne and something uniquely him. "Thank you," she managed, "for everything. The hospital bills. I don't know what you're talking about." But his eyes told a different story. "I can't pay you back. I'm not asking you to." Ji-hoon leaned against the wall, tie loosened, looking more like the man she'd met in the cafe than the powerful CEO. "Min-seo, I never meant to hurt you. That first meeting. You have no idea how rare genuine conversation is when everyone knows your net worth." "So you lied." "I omitted." He smiled sadly. "Is that worse?" Min-seo considered his question seriously, still wrapped in his jacket. In the fluorescent corridor lighting, Ji-hoon looked younger, more vulnerable. She recognized the loneliness in his expression. It mirrored her own. "I don't know," she admitted finally. "I spent that whole date thinking you were judging me for my circumstances, wondering if a janitor could accept my student debt and dead-end jobs. Now I find out you were never in a position to judge." "I wasn't judging." He stepped closer, careful not to crowd her. "I was admiring your resilience, your determination to finish your degree despite impossible circumstances. The way you spoke about your dreams without apology." Something shifted in Min-seo's chest. She'd built walls around herself, pride and fear mixed into mortar, but this man had seen through them, even while hiding behind his own disguise. "Your mother came to see me," she said, "offered me money to disappear." Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. "I didn't know. I'm sorry. I burned the check." She smiled slightly at his surprised expression. Seemed appropriate. He laughed then, genuine and unguarded. The sound warmed something cold inside her. They stood in comfortable silence, the gala's noise distant through the walls. "Can we start over?" Ji-hoon asked finally. Honestly this time? No uniforms, no deception. Just two people trying to figure out if there's something real beneath the circumstances. Min-seo knew the sensible answer. His world and hers were incompatible. His mother would make her life miserable. The power imbalance was insurmountable. She said yes anyway. They returned to the gala separately, but when Min-seo glanced back, Ji-hoon was watching her with an expression that made her heart race, all careful control momentarily forgotten. The next morning brought flowers to her apartment, simple daisies, not expensive roses. The note read simply, "Coffee as ourselves this time." Their second first date occurred at a small cafe near Min-seo's neighborhood, far from Gangnam's glitz. Ji-hoon arrived in jeans and a simple sweater, looking almost normal. Almost. People still noticed him. That indefinable quality wealth provided. Confidence, posture, the unconscious assumption of space. But he tried, and that mattered. "Tell me about your family," Min-seo said after they'd ordered. "The real story, not the corporate biography." Ji-hoon stirred his coffee thoughtfully. "My grandfather built Hanseong from nothing, literally nothing. He started as a factory worker, saved every one, eventually bought the factory. He was brilliant and ruthless." His expression grew distant. "My father was supposed to inherit that drive. Instead, he inherited the company and died young from stress. Heart attack at 47. I'm sorry. I was 23, fresh from business school, completely unprepared." Ji-hoon's hands tightened around his cup. "My mother and the board expected me to fail. Instead, I worked myself nearly to death, proving them wrong. 5 years of 18-hour days, sleeping in my office, sacrificing everything personal for corporate growth." Min-seo reached across the table, her hand covering his. The gesture was instinctive, comforting. "That's why you started cleaning." "Grandfather's dying requirement. He left me a letter saying if I forgot where we came from, I'd lose everything that mattered." Ji-hoon turned his hand over, fingers intertwining with hers. He was right. That first night cleaning toilets, I was furious, humiliated. Then I started talking to the night staff, learned their stories, realized how disconnected I'd become. They talked for hours. Min-seo shared her own history, her mother's death when she was 12, her father's subsequent struggles, putting her brother through school while abandoning her own education. The weight of being the responsible one, always sacrificing, never quite enough. "You're remarkable," Ji-hoon said softly. "You know that?" Min-seo felt heat rise in her cheeks. Nobody had called her remarkable before. Stubborn, yes. Foolish, certainly. But never remarkable. News of their relationship spread through Hanseong Corporation like wildfire. Min-seo endured whispers and pointed stares, cruel speculation about her motives. Gold digger, social climber, opportunist. The cleaning supervisor called her into the office. "I'm reassigning you," she said without preamble. "You'll work the night shift exclusively." "Different building?" "Because I'm dating Ji-hoon," Min-seo kept her voice steady despite the fury building inside. "Because it's inappropriate. He's the CEO, you're cleaning staff, people talk." Min-seo wanted to argue, to defend herself. But what could she say? The supervisor was right about one thing: people were talking, and most of what they said was ugly. She told Ji-hoon that evening at his penthouse apartment. He'd insisted she start spending time there, despite her discomfort with the opulent space. The view alone probably cost more than her entire apartment building. "I'll fix this," he said immediately, reaching for his phone. "I'll talk to HR." "No," Min-seo stopped him. "That'll make it worse. Everyone will say I'm using our relationship for special treatment. You're being punished for dating me. How is that fair?" "It isn't. But fighting it won't help." She moved to the windows, Seoul glittering below like scattered diamonds. "Maybe we're being naive. Maybe your mother was right. Our worlds are too different." Ji-hoon came up behind her, arms circling her waist. My world, your world. What if we built our own instead? It sounded romantic. Impossible, but romantic. Min-seo leaned back against him, drawing strength from his presence. Outside, the city sparkled with possibilities and obstacles in equal measure. "Tell me again why we're doing this," she whispered. "Because when I'm with you, I remember who I wanted to be before the weight of expectation crushed it out. Because you see me, not my portfolio. Because I'm falling in love with you." The words hung in the air, terrifying and wonderful. Ji-hoon's confession changed everything and nothing. They continued dating carefully, navigating judgment and whispers. Min-seo refused to quit her jobs despite Ji-hoon's protests, clinging to her independence like a lifeline. 3 months passed. Autumn surrendered to winter, Seoul's streets transforming into icy beauty. Min-seo finally submitted her scholarship application, pride swallowed by practicality. She was called for an interview with the executive committee. The boardroom intimidated her. All dark wood and leather, serious faces evaluating her worthiness. Ji-hoon had recused himself from her application review, leaving the decision to others. Madame Kang sat at the table's head. Min-seo's stomach dropped. She'd avoided Ji-hoon's mother since the bribery attempt, but now faced her across polished mahogany. The interview was brutal. Questions about her background, her intentions, her relationship with the CEO. Madame Kang's colleagues were professional, but his mother's hostility radiated like cold fire. "Why should we invest in you?" Madame Kang asked finally, "when your relationship with my son represents a clear conflict of interest?" Min-seo met her gaze steadily. "Because I qualify based on merit. My grades, work history, and essay all meet your stated criteria. If you deny me solely because I'm dating Ji-hoon, you're admitting this program is a sham." Shocked silence followed. Then one executive laughed, breaking the tension. The interview concluded shortly after, results to be announced in 2 weeks. That evening, Ji-hoon took her to the Han River. Snow was falling softly, the city muted and beautiful. They walked bundled in coats, breath forming clouds in the cold air. "I heard about the interview," he said quietly. "My mother had no right." "She had every right. She's protecting her family's interests." Min-seo stopped walking, turning to face him. "Ji-hoon, are we being selfish? Maybe she's right. Maybe I don't belong in your world. You belong wherever you choose to be." The scholarship rejection arrived by formal letter. Min-seo read it alone in her apartment, the carefully worded phrases adding insult to injury. "Despite your qualifications, at this time, encourage you to reapply next year." She didn't cry. She'd learned young that tears solved nothing. Instead, she calculated how many extra shifts she'd need, how long degree completion would take, how much longer she could sustain this exhausting tightrope. Ji-hoon appeared at her door an hour later, having clearly received word. His fury was quiet, but absolute. "I'm overturning this decision. My mother overstepped." "Stop!" Min-seo held up her hand. "Just stop. This is exactly what everyone predicted. I can't accept help you strong-arm from unwilling people. It proves their point. I'm using you. You're not, aren't I?" The question came out sharper than intended. "Be honest. Without you, would I even have a chance? Would anyone look twice at the convenience store clerk with half a degree?" Ji-hoon flinched. "Your circumstances don't define your worth." "In your world, they absolutely do." Min-seo moved to the window, unable to look at him. "I've been thinking, really thinking. What kind of future do we have? I'll always be the poor girl who trapped the CEO. Your mother will hate me. The board will undermine you. Eventually, you'll resent me too. Never. You don't know that." She turned finally, tears threatening despite her earlier resolve. "I love you. God help me, I do, but love isn't enough when the whole world is against us." Ji-hoon closed the distance between them, cupping her face gently. "Then we fight, act together or we walk away. But we make this decision together. Min-seo wanted to believe him, wanted to think that love conquered all, that determination and genuine feeling could overcome systemic inequality. But she'd lived too long in reality's harsh light. "I need time," she whispered, "to think." Alone. He left without argument. The door closed softly, and Min-seo finally let herself cry. 3 days of silence followed. Min-seo worked her shifts mechanically, avoided calls, existed in numb suspension. Her brother tried reaching out, but she couldn't explain her turmoil to him. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Ji-hoon appeared at the convenience store near closing time, purchasing coffee she clearly didn't want. "You're making a mistake," Ji-hoon said bluntly, pushing him away. "You don't understand. I understand perfectly." Ji-hoon's tone was sharp. "I was you 5 years ago. Different circumstances, same story. A poor girl working reception started dating a junior executive. His family hated it. Colleagues whispered, I couldn't take the pressure, so I ended it." Min-seo stared at her. "What happened?" "He married someone appropriate, had the requisite 2 children, became miserable." Ji-hoon's expression was distant. "I've watched him for 5 years, watched the light die in his eyes. We still work together. It's torture for us both." "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry, be smart." Ji-hoon leaned across the counter. "Here's what I learned too late. The world will always judge you. Always. You can't control that. You can only control your own choices. Do you love him? Yes. Does he make you better? Do you make him better?" Min-seo thought about Ji-hoon's gentleness, his quiet strength, how he encouraged her dreams without patronizing her, how she'd watched him become more grounded, more connected to the people his decisions affected. They did make each other better. "Then fight," Ji-hoon said simply. "The world be damned." That evening, Min-seo called Ji-hoon. "Can you meet me at the cafe where we first met?" He arrived within 30 minutes, hope and fear warring in his expression. They sat at the same table, rain drumming against windows like their first encounter. "I was wrong," Min-seo said, "about giving up. I'm still scared, still worried about all the obstacles. But I realized something. I'm tired of letting fear make my decisions." Ji-hoon reached for her hand across the table, his grip warm and steady. They didn't solve everything overnight. Madame Kang remained coldly disapproving. Colleagues still whispered. The scholarship rejection stood, bitter but motivating. But things shifted. Ji-hoon implemented new company policies, requiring family members to recuse themselves from decisions affecting employee relationships. The policy was professional, general, but everyone knew what inspired it. Min-seo enrolled in evening classes using her savings, refusing Ji-hoon's financial help, but accepting his emotional support. He attended her graduation eventually, not as CEO, but as the man who believed in her when she'd stopped believing in herself. Ji-hoon became an unexpected ally, running interference against corporate politics and offering hard-won advice. "Pick your battles," she'd say. "Save your energy for wars that matter." Min-seo learned to deflect gossip with dignity, rather than anger. When someone whispered "gold digger," she focused on her studies. When others questioned her qualifications, she let her work speak instead. Ji-hoon's transformation was quieter, but equally significant. He continued his weekly janitorial shifts, but now brought other executives with him. "You can't lead what you don't understand," he'd tell resistant board members. 6 months after their reconciliation, Ji-hoon took Min-seo to his grandfather's grave. "I need to introduce you properly," he said, oddly nervous for a man who commanded boardrooms. They stood before the modest headstone, snow beginning to fall. Ji-hoon spoke quietly to the granite, telling his grandfather about this remarkable woman who taught him that true strength wasn't about wealth or power, but resilience and authenticity. Min-seo felt tears freeze on her cheeks. Not from sadness, but from overwhelming gratitude for this strange, difficult journey that had brought them together. That evening, in Ji-hoon's penthouse, he knelt before her with a simple question. No grand gestures or elaborate proposals, just honest vulnerability and a ring his grandmother had worn. I can't promise it'll be easy. My family will resist, society will judge, but I promise I'll stand beside you through all of it. Will you marry me? Min-seo looked at this man who'd transformed her life not with money, but with genuine respect and unwavering support. The answer was simple. Yes. The wedding was small and deliberate, close friends only, no media spectacle. Madame Kang attended with rigid disapproval, but she attended. Small victories counted. Min-seo wore a simple dress, declining the designer options Ji-hoon's mother suggested with pointed persistence. She was herself, finally, unapologetically. No more hiding in shadows or second-guessing her worth. At the reception, her father gave a toast that brought tears to everyone's eyes. My daughter taught me that circumstances are temporary, but character is permanent. She survived loss, poverty and judgment without losing her kindness. I'm proud beyond measure. Ji-hoon's speech was shorter. Min-seo showed me that authenticity is revolutionary, that real connection requires vulnerability, that the most valuable things in life can't be bought. They must be earned through courage and genuine respect. Later, they stood on the reception hall's balcony, Seoul glittering beneath them. Min-seo leaned against her husband, still adjusting to the surreal reality. "Do you ever wonder," she asked quietly, "what would have happened if I hadn't mistaken you for my blind date that night?" Ji-hoon pulled her closer. "I'd like to think we'd have found each other anyway. Maybe you'd have knocked coffee on me at the office, or I'd have noticed you during one of my cleaning shifts. The universe has a way of connecting people who need each other." It was romantic nonsense, but Min-seo chose to believe it anyway. 1 year later, she graduated summa cum laude with her completed degree. Ji-hoon sat in the audience beside her father and brother, cheering louder than decorum suggested. The following week, she started as Hanseong Corporation's new Community Outreach Director, a position she'd earned through merit, interview process, and determination. Her first initiative was expanding the Employee Scholarship Program, ensuring transparent criteria and diverse review boards. Madame Kang objected initially, then surprisingly became the program's largest private donor. "You're more stubborn than I anticipated," Ji-hoon's mother admitted during a tense family dinner. It wasn't quite approval, but it wasn't rejection either. Progress came in increments. Min-seo sometimes thought about that rainy night, the mistaken identity, the janitor who became her world. Life was strange and unpredictable. The wrong man had turned out to be exactly right. In quiet moments, Ji-hoon still wore his janitorial uniform, cleaning floors alongside the night staff. And Min-seo joined him sometimes, the CEO's wife scrubbing toilets without embarrassment. Because they remembered where they came from. They remembered what mattered, and they built their own world together, one honest moment at a time.